Hello, everyone. My name is Daniel Flores, and I am a recruitment officer for EHL. And also on the line with me, we have Jacqueline. I'm going to let her introduce herself.
Hello, I'm Jacqueline. I'm from California, but I'm going to school here in Switzerland at École Hôtelière de Lausanne. I'm in my sophomore year, and yep, that's a little bit about me.
And fun fact, we are both Bay Area natives, so you can at least know people that are from your area since you guys are in the Bay Area too. Today, what we're going to be talking about is pretty much exploring international universities. It's going to be very general information, things that will help you kind of narrow down your college search, but also understand, well, what is it like to actually do a degree abroad? So when I'm not going to say study abroad, because in the American terms, that's do a semester. We're talking about a degree abroad, which is a pretty cool experience. It's not for everybody, that's for sure, but keep an open mind because this is going to be information to help you even with your college search. So kind of going right on into it. The profile that you need to be an international student, meaning doing a degree abroad, is what's listed here. So the biggest thing is be open-minded. It's about the willingness to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. You may find some people from the Bay Area that are doing a degree abroad, but you may not. You may find somebody from Kenya and you have never had any contact with somebody from Kenya. But having the opportunity to have one-on-one conversations with them, learn about their culture, learn about their communication styles, these are things that could actually help you with your career if you're looking to have a global career, okay? In addition to that, culturally curious, it is one of those things. Maybe we have this vision of what it's like to meet a Parisian or meet somebody from Lebanon, but when you're actually there with them and they're in front of you, it's completely different. You just kind of soak in their culture through those conversations. Now, also, you have to be independent. Why? You're not home. You're not in the Bay anymore. You are in a foreign country, and maybe you visited there on travels. Maybe you've never been there or thought of even studying there or visiting. But it's a change. You're out of your comfort zone, but this is also what forces you to grow up a lot faster. And it's going to be scary, but there's also things in place to make it a lot more accommodating. Another big thing, key, passion for travel. You're doing a degree abroad in another country. You have to be excited about it. But even then, if you do a degree in Germany, think about, oh, well, maybe I get tired of being in Germany. Okay, let me hop on a plane and in an hour or two, I'm in Switzerland or I'm gonna be in Italy. So if you love the idea of being in other countries, even over the weekend, that's what you could do, especially in Europe. When I say be adaptable, once again, coming out of your mindset of this is how I was raised and these are my beliefs. We also have to understand not everybody thinks the same way. So let's kind of learn from other people and we can, change our viewpoints. We're not going to change ourselves as a core person because we are who we are. But you need to be able to deal with certain situations that you may not experience here, okay? And then so for you, Jacqueline, since you're doing your degree at EHL, what are some things that I've listed here that you think are relevant to you and maybe give us an example?
Well, what's definitely relevant is being adaptable. You never know what's going to happen and you never know who you're going to meet. And really putting yourself out there is very, very important, and trying to learn from other people. And that also brings me to my second point, is being culturally curious and wanting to learn more about the culture and where you're studying, whether it's in Switzerland like me, or if you're going to Germany, Italy, learning more about the culture, what it's like, what a normal dinner is like versus what you do on the weekends. It's being able to be open-minded and being ready and for anything.
Awesome, thank you. Now, also kind of the advantages of studying in Europe. There's a common misconception that it's gonna be crazy expensive to do that. Like, why don't I just stay local? The reality is that it can actually be more affordable for you to do a degree in a foreign country than doing it, you know, down the road at San Jose State where I got my degree. And there's a couple of reasons, but one of the biggest reasons is that in Europe, you can typically get a bachelor's degree that's equated to a bachelor's degree in the States. You can do it in 3 years. And there's a reason why. In Europe, we don't do general eds. So if you know that you want to study psychology, economics, sociology, business, accounting, whatever it is, when you study in Europe, you go directly into that. It's the equivalent of being in the US and instead of doing your general eds, you skip all that and you go directly into your major courses. So now you're looking at a 3-year program instead of a 4 or a 5. I say 5-year because in the US, the 4-year plan is closer to a 5-year plan. You have to worry about getting all your classes and passing all your classes, which is the same thing in Europe. However, in public schools, it's a lot crazier and it's a lot more difficult to graduate in 4 years. Is it impossible? No, it just becomes a little bit more difficult. So when you think long-term with cost, if you graduated in 3 years in Europe, that 4th and 5th year that you were studying in the States, you're losing twice. You are paying tuition and you are not working. So don't think of cost as just upfront, think also long-term costs. Europe is also home to the world's first university, which is based in Bologna, Italy. So what does that mean? We've been providing quality education for a very long time. So when you graduate from an EHL or from specific universities that have worldwide accreditation, that means that you can work and you can continue your education anywhere around the world, which for you, you need to start thinking about, do I want a local career? Do I want a national career? Or do I want a global career? Studying in Europe will prepare you for the latter. And also on the fun piece, once again, if you love culture, if you love language, and if you love to travel, leave the States, hands down. You're going to get that in Europe. To make it unique, if you love to be around people and love to make people feel welcome, that's hospitality. Okay. Now, living abroad. It's one thing thinking about doing a semester or just traveling to Paris for a week. The other thing is actually doing a degree there and being there for X amount of years. Jacqueline, tell me about your transition coming from the Bay and then going to Switzerland.
Well, I wasn't sure. I mean, my transition was very quick. So it was more of what do I need to know and what do I need to be prepared for that I don't know that I need to be prepared for. And that takes a lot of learning about the culture ahead of time, and took a lot of research to see, okay, what is it like to actually live in the place that I'm going to be living in soon. So personally for Switzerland specifically, everything's closed on Sundays. Most everything it's a completely different lifestyle. You have to be prepared for that kind of thing. And one of my favorite parts actually is dinners. Dinners are my favorite because they're so genuine and so long. It's an event almost. It's about the culture. It's about getting to have that social interaction. It's more than just eating and sitting down and relaxing for 20 minutes eating McDonald's versus sitting down for 3 hours almost and going over everything in life. It's completely different. And also language barriers was also a thing, but with this day and age, there's technology, and also living here, you learn so much faster, and you learn more practically than you would in a classroom. So you really are in the moment.
Before you started at EHL, what languages did you know?
English and ASL, or American Sign Language. I didn't know French, I didn't know German or Italian, and those are the only languages they speak here in Switzerland.
And now, after being at EHL you're in your second year, how many more languages do you know?
Well, I'm learning French now, so there's that. I'm still a beginner, I'm still learning, but being here and even ordering a coffee, going to the local grocery store and just talking to people, it it starts to sink in a lot more than it would just being in the classroom.
Exactly. And, I ask you these questions because it's part of the transition. I know zero French. I know English and Spanish. So when I went to Switzerland, I didn't know what they were saying. But body language is also one of those things where you start to understand people just by the way that you're moving your hands or you're smiling or whatnot. So certain words will be like, oh, this is a happy word. Maybe in the context of the sentence, this is what it means. So don't worry, for anybody watching this, don't worry if you don't know 2, 3, 4 languages. That's fine. You will be picking up another language when you do a degree abroad. That's just part of the experience. And even for a lot of schools like us, that's part of the curriculum. Okay. Like going from your home city, state, country, and doing a degree abroad, homesickness is going to hit. And for certain people, it's going to hit harder than others. But once again, if you're looking to be independent and come out of your shell and be comfortable with being uncomfortable, that's okay to go through homesickness. Because what's going to happen, especially if you study at a smaller school in a foreign country, there is X amount of people that are going through the same thing that you are. At EHL, for instance, from an American perspective, about 95% of the student body are international. From a typical perspective, 70% of our students come from outside of Switzerland. So people are from all over the world. We have over 120 nationalities. The goal is to make you feel like you're at home by providing the facilities. So like dorms, apartments, you also get the food on campus. That's also another fun point. Jacqueline, talk about the food experience on campus.
Oh, food on campus. We have almost everything. We have so many options and so many different outlets on campus, and everything rotates all the time. So you really have a chance to try almost everything. And our chefs are really creative. So everything changes and there's something new all the time.
And who's cooking the food?
So for our curriculum, our first years are cooking, they are cleaning, they are serving the drinks. Our first years, part of the curriculum, are workshops actually. And those workshops will change every week or every 2 weeks, depending on what they are. And so you have a chance to work in the kitchen and work in the bakery, and even at our restaurant on campus, which is awarded a Michelin star for, I think, the last 2 years, 3 years. The last 3 years, it has kept its Michelin star. It's a fantastic establishment, and we have a chance to train there, to actually have an experience, to have the fine dining aspect of it, which personally I've never served a coffee, let alone $140, even more than that, bottle of wine to somebody I didn't know. And it was a lot at first, but it's so fun. It was so much fun getting the chance to do all these things and learn. My first 2 weeks on campus, I had a class called enology, which is the study of wine. Before coming to EHL, I didn't really care about drinking. And then I had my first class ever about the study of winemaking, and it's very eye-opening and it's very intriguing. I don't know if you wanted to elaborate on that, Daniel.
Yeah, and that's something very unique to EHL, but kind of going to the alcohol culture, and I won't elaborate on it too much, but to make it super simple, as an American, this might be weird hearing that Jacqueline, at 18 years old, she was learning about wine and serving alcohol. In Europe, at the age of 16, you can actually drink beer and wine, and at 18, hard alcohol. The difference though is uh, it's more of a bonding experience, and it isn't something where people just get out of hand. And once again, that comes with being open-minded. You aren't in the US, you aren't around Americans, you are around people that are from Germany and other parts of the world that they might have different views on alcohol than you would. So what we're doing is we're giving you the ability to learn about that way younger than you would in the States, because you clearly have to be 21, but we do it in a way where it's educational because that's part of our industry. That's what makes it unique. I mean, we are a hospitality school. So it's different than what you would get at most other schools. But once again, if you study in Europe, yes, what happens is maybe if you're having trouble in class, you might actually meet up with a professor and say, hey, can I invite you out to, if you're in Spain, can we go out to tapas? And then you just have a bunch of tapas, which are appetizers, and maybe a beer or so. And it's a social thing where you're getting to know them as a person. I could tell you, studying at San Jose State, office hours were ridiculous. Like there was maybe 2, max 3 times a week for an hour that a professor was available. And this is a professor that's teaching over 500 students. I'm one person, and if I had an issue or if I needed help, I had to be available at the specific time he was available, in addition to be in a line of other students. I wouldn't be able to hang out with him and, have a meal. You have 10 minutes and then you got to go because I got somebody else. So it's just very, very different. So just things to kind of consider. Once again, Europe isn't for everybody, but if you're really looking at building lifelong relationships and learning more about yourself and also about other cultures, this is a great way to do so. Now, what I listed here is these are just things that you have to consider on a personal level, but then also on a practical level. So yes, you will be outside of your comfort zone and you are going to get used to a new way of living. But most universities offer accommodations too. So you're not moving to another country, living on the streets. That's not what's going to happen. Okay. And then you also get the ability to travel. So when you travel, you get to see things like the castle that you see. That one's based in Germany, actually. On the left-hand side is going to be one of the best things ever, which is called fondue. You will gain way too much weight, but it is delicious. And then on the right-hand side is Oktoberfest. And these are just cultural events that you get access to. But then on practical side, well, what is it like to travel there or to get there? Well, when you deal with smaller schools or even international schools, they help you with the visa process to move from the US to whatever country you're going to. Okay, health insurance is probably going to be part of that process too. So they would let you know what you need to do in a foreign country. Maybe you need to set up a bank account in case you're going to be working. So there are all these little things to think about, but you will get help along the way. Okay. Now, as far as like, okay, sounds kind of cool, but I mean, how do I even get into a school? There's 2 ways of looking at this. What if you decided I want to do a degree abroad, but I want to do it in the UK? The UK is very different because they are very quantitative in how they look at you. Meaning, if you don't meet certain test scores or certain GPAs, you're not getting in. So don't waste your time. And I like the saying that they have where we sacrifice flexibility for transparency. So if you're really looking at 5 schools in the UK and you don't meet the minimum requirements, that just means you're not going to go there. So now you're not going to waste your time focusing on that. You're going to look at other schools that you might be qualified for. That's UK specific. Now for Europe, a lot of us do, especially at international schools, we do holistic admissions, which means we look at more than your grades. We want to get to know you as a person, which means what do you do outside of class? Do you know multiple languages? Do you travel? Do you have work experience, volunteer experience? Anything outside of academia, we want to know about, because this is going to tell us about your academic potential, but then also, can you multitask? When you get to EHL specifically, we want you to contribute to campus life. The only way to know that is to see that you were doing that in high school, okay? And then that's going to show us also about your leadership and teamwork skills. This is important because in a lot of international schools, especially in Europe, you're going to be doing a lot of teamwork. You're constantly around people. So if you didn't really get along with people, it's going to be a rough transition, and maybe it's honestly not a good fit, and that's completely fine. But now you know that, okay? But then also the international outlook. Maybe you are from the Bay and you decided, hey, I want to do a degree in Germany, but you've never been to Germany or had any intentions of going there beforehand. Depending on where you're at, maybe you can find ways for over the summer you go, or you have some connections there to show the admissions person that you are ready to leave the States and you are ready to have that international outlook. Also, most universities, you have to be 18 years old to start the program. There are some schools that have a spring and a fall intake, so it's not just once a year, which means this happens to some of our students. If you have a birthday in October and we start in September, you can't start in September, you would start in February of the following year, okay? So you're only waiting 5 more months instead of an entire year to start your education. For EHL specifically, we have a 3-phase admissions process. We are on the Common App, and you can also apply directly on our website. We also have a video interview, and then we have an on-site interview. Well, now it's going to be online, and it's actually 3 components. Computerized test, you're going to be doing an interview with a mix of alumni and or interns, and then you also do a team building activity. This is because our industry requires us to be able to work with people. And the only way to see that is to see how you work around others. Okay. Academic requirements is going to be different just depending on what you're going to be graduating with. If you do an IB diploma, if you do the typical American high school diploma, if you're doing a French bac, depending on the school you go to. So for you, you're going to worry about American high school diploma. Every school is different. So what you do is you reach out to people like me and you say, hey, I'm really interested in your school. I'm really interested in your program. What would it take to get in? And then we would let you know. So there are going to be minimum academic requirements. In addition, there's going to be language requirements depending on where you're looking to study. Okay? Because if, let's say, you're a student who's from China and then you want to do your degree in Switzerland and we teach in English at our school, you need to meet a certain level of English. For Americans, this isn't really going to be an issue, but just good to know. And then for applying to a school abroad, these are just general tips. Do your research. As an admissions person, it's awesome when somebody comes up to me and says, you know, I heard about your school. I know that you do X, Y, Z. I just had some specific questions because for me, it's like, you did your homework. Cool. Let's engage. But I've also had some students come up to me and we offer just hospitality. And they're like, oh, do you offer medicine or do you offer biology? Like, no, unfortunately we don't. I can recommend you to some schools that do that, but make sure you take your time to do your research. If possible, maybe even get some work experience. It's a huge plus because you're starting to learn to multitask. If you can work and you can go to school and get good grades, that's a huge plus. Depending on the country that you're coming from, complete your military service ahead of time. A lot of holistic schools also require an essay. Show your personality in your essay. Sometimes you don't ever get to meet an admissions person. So your first contact with them is through your essay. Be clear, be concise, don't have any grammatical errors, but show your personality. We want to be excited after we read your essay to eventually get to meet you. And then own your application. When you hit that submit button, you should feel good, confident in everything, okay? Now, this one's very important. You're gonna hear this a lot. Find your fit. There's so many universities out there, but not every university is for you. So I'll kind of tell you a little bit about how I approach the college admissions process or how I advise students. But Jacqueline, I wanted to kind of get your input on this. When you were looking at EHL, why did you think it was a good fit for you?
I would say when I first found out about EHL, the thing that stuck out the most was how hands-on the curriculum was. So as I was explaining earlier, is that our first year is half on campus, so the first 5 months on campus, and then following that is a 6-month internship in operations in hospitality. So those first 5 months you're on campus are theoretical classes as well as workshop classes. So again, you're actually in the kitchen, you're actually in the bakery, you're physically making drinks and smoothies and whatnot, and also doing what's it called? I'm blank. Housekeeping. We also had a housekeeping course, so we're making beds. We're actually going through those situations and getting that experience that you may not be able to have before, and in such a short time. And I also said it's 1 week or 2 weeks long. That's as long as the courses go, and so we go through those as quickly as we can. But it's just to give you a broad I guess, experience of this is what it's like. And if it fits for you, it fits for you. And maybe it just opens up your eyes even more to something new that you didn't think of beforehand. And that's what really stuck out to me when I found EHL. It's so hands-on versus a US school that I'm always going to be in lectures and classes, and that's about it.
And it's important, because we all want something different. I make the comparison of don't settle on a university like you wouldn't settle on a relationship, because you are committing to a 3 to 5 year marriage to a school. If you're not happy, don't do it. You should be excited and you tell all your friends about it. That's what happens. But in order to get to that point, you have to do your research. So I want you to take a step back, and for everybody, think about who you want to be 5 or 10 years down the road. Meaning, what are you physically doing? Are you in an office? Are you out and about? Are you with people from all over the world? Does that even matter? Are you in a position where you can travel all over the world, or does that matter? And once you figure that out, then it's about what degree will get me that opportunity. And the degree is important, meaning look at the curriculum. Don't assume that because you're doing a degree in business that all you're taking is business classes. I went to San Jose State and I took a class on how birds and frogs talked. Why? Because I had general eds. So it clearly wasn't going to help me with my profession. And it was rough. I barely passed a class with a C- because I hated it, but I had to do it. So what I would challenge everybody to do is don't assume business is all business. Look at every single class that you have to take. If 80% or more of the curriculum sounds interesting, that is a good fit. If not, challenge yourself and look into something different, because you want to be excited about most of the classes that you're taking. Then once you find that degree, it's about what school offers that degree, but what school that fits my style. So for Jacqueline, she's switching off classes every 1 to 2 weeks. She likes the fast pace. She likes to learn how to do things with her hands. So it's different. Somebody tells you how to make a cocktail than you actually doing it. If you learn better by doing, that's what they do in Europe. That's a huge benefit. Okay. But then also, what's the campus life like? Are there people from all over the world? Does that matter to me? Do I get the opportunity to travel as part of my curriculum, or does that matter to me? All of these are ways for you to narrow down what school is the right fit. And then honestly, the last thing that you worry about is finances. Not saying it's not important, but you had to figure out who are you, what degree is going to get you there, what university that fits your profile offers that degree to get you there. And you apply. Don't ever not apply. If you don't apply, you are automatically ineligible for scholarships. So when a school says we cost $80,000 per year, yeah, that's going to be your cost if you didn't apply, because you also didn't apply for any scholarships. But if you apply to the school, you can apply for scholarships. Maybe that $80,000 school ended up being 30 because you were eligible for certain scholarships. You shoot your shot. Don't be scared, just do it. In a worst case scenario, you don't get in, your life doesn't end. But maybe you do get in, and maybe you do get scholarship opportunities, and maybe that school that you thought was unattainable, your dream school, is super attainable. But you won't know unless you apply. So make sure you do yourself the service of doing that, okay? But then also you have to think about down the road too. Like, okay, if I study here, I get a degree, what does that do for me, okay? Look at the employability rate of alumni, specifically from, if it's a small school like an EHL, then from that university, but also from the College of Business or Letters and Science, depending on what degree you're pursuing. Where those alumni are working is going to kind of dictate what your future looks like. So if you see that 50% of them get a job within 6 months of graduation, you're investing all this money, 50% chance of getting a job is pretty low. But what about if you invest a little bit more and there's a school that's 80 or 90% that you get a job? Those are things that you need to consider too. So are you going to school for the experience and just to get the piece of paper? Or do you want the piece of paper? Do you want a great experience? And do you want a job? Because there's a difference, okay? Have these realistic expectations and also make sure that the school is accredited. If the school is not accredited, it is not legit. So if I open the Daniel Flores University of Hospitality tomorrow and you pay me 4 years of tuition and I hand you your diploma, it means nothing. So when you apply for jobs, when you apply for master's programs, too bad. But make sure that you're doing this research, okay? Just some quick facts about EHL so you get an idea of what our campus life is like. So we have over 120 nationalities, about 2,900 undergrad students, 3,300 total students, because we do offer master's programs. About 84% of our students know 3 or more languages. Once again, it's not to freak you out, but the cool thing is when you graduate, you will know at least 3 languages. We also have student committees, which in essence are student clubs. They range from mountain sports, water sports, professional eating, professional wine drinking, to Model United Nations, dance. It's a little bit of everything. Our students are very involved. And once again, this goes back to the holistic admissions approach. If you were part of a dance club in high school, more than likely you will continue that in college. We want to know that. Like Jacqueline mentioned, we've had a Michelin star at our training restaurant for 3 years in a row. We were the first school in the world to hold a Michelin star for our training restaurant. In addition, we started off as the world's first hotel school in 1893. And then we made the transition, becoming ranked as the world's #1 hospitality and leisure management program 3 years in a row. Hospitality is not just hotels and restaurants. Once again, hospitality is not just hotels and restaurants. This is the service industry, which is 1 in 10 jobs globally. To also put it another way, the only difference between studying business and studying hospitality is that if you hate people, you don't study hospitality, you study business, because you don't have to interact with people if you don't want to. Hospitality is all about knowing how to create a business plan, but also providing value behind the product via providing great service. The only way you can provide great service is by being good to your clients. And the only way to do that is to actually be a nice person. So that's what you would be learning at EHL, okay? Now, as far as kind of some of our campuses, we do have 3 campuses actually in total. Today, I'm going to just briefly talk about 2. One is the Lausanne campus, very modern, very minimalistic. We have 2 brand new apartment buildings, 3 brand new dorms, and we're working on our sports complex. So when you think about the student experience, these are things to consider. We're going to be having an indoor gym, indoor pool, indoor spa. College life is rough. You need your mani-pedis. Boom. You would be able to get that on campus. So also in Europe, as an example, Lausanne, the city of this campus, is about a 45-minute train ride from the Geneva airport. In a 3-hour flight from the Geneva airport, you're in up to 36 different countries. So once again, if you get tired of being in Switzerland, have your pizza pasta in Italy, have your cod in Portugal, have your brats and beer in Germany. You can do that. If you want something a little different, that's where we have Singapore. In a 3-hour flight, you're in 17 different countries. So if you want to go to Phuket, if you want to go to the Maldives and be on an island, be in a nice villa that's on top of the water, or if you want to go to Vietnam and have some bom pho, that's where you can go. So it's these things that you can experience while you're in college, even on the weekends. And this is the business hub of Asia. So that's what something like an EHL would provide you. I won't go too much into our bachelor's program, but just know it's 4 years. 1 year of the program, you're doing internship. We offer 2 6-month internships and we offer them all over the world. So once again, when you think about what do I want out of my college experience and maybe I learn better by doing, this is where the 80% rule comes in handy. Look at the courses that you're taking. If this sounds interesting to you, then I can tell you right now, you're already narrowing down your focus and you didn't even realize it. If you know that you learn better by doing, you're going to be looking at smaller, if you stay in the States, smaller liberal arts schools. But if you want to get outside your comfort zone, Europe, because that's just what we do on a regular basis. Okay. And when we talked about, this is not just hotels and restaurants, 47% of our alumni go into, yes, hotels, restaurants, F&B, catering, airlines. But because this is a business program, the rest go into banking, accounting, NGOs, education, healthcare, health and beauty, luxury goods, retail, real estate. I'm not saying this to sell EHL. I'm saying this so you get an idea of what hospitality is, but also, once again, why are you getting a degree? Ideally to get a job, I would assume. 96% of our alumni get a job within 6 months of graduation. We have over 30,000 alumni working in over 150 countries. Do you want a global career? Something like an EHL could help you get there. But when you're doing your research, make sure that this is possible as a graduate from that school. And once again, these are some companies that actually hire our students, whether it's for internships or for full-time jobs. So once again, you'll see this is not just hotels and restaurants. This is the same thing that you should be looking at for another school. If you're interested in biology, okay, well, where can I do my internships? What companies are hiring your students? They should be able to disclose this for you. Once again, financial aid. There are a lot of international schools that offer financial aid. We accept FAFSA. So you might know about that now. You'll definitely find out about that your senior year. But there are so many ways to make your education affordable. You have to ask the school. It is attainable. I want you all to remember it is so attainable for you to do a degree abroad. Just open up your mind and you're going to find out, oh, wow, I could do animation at a 4-year university in Barcelona. That exists. And it's taught in English. So whatever you could do in the States, you can actually do in Europe. It's just your experience is going to be so much cooler. Just throwing it out there. Now, another thing to think about is, okay, well, it sounds cool, but I mean, how do I get there? Well, if you are stuck at home this summer because you don't want to travel or because you can't, that's fine. For instance, EHL, we do a digital academy online, which is about a 5-week crash course. Think about if the school that you're interested in, or if you're looking at a specific degree, what school offers a summer program that I could either do in person or online, whatever your comfort level is. Because in that 1 week or up to 3 weeks, depending on how long it is, you're going to find out 3 things. I love or hate this school. I love or hate this degree. I love or hate this country. And that's not a bad thing. You're narrowing down your college search and you're adding something to your resume, which is going to make you stand out when you come senior year and you start applying to schools. So make the most out of your summer. If you can get work experience, get work experience. If you could do a summer program, it's a small investment that pays so many dividends down the road. Okay. So just think about that. Now, I wanted to kind of leave it open to actually any questions that you might have, Ms. Bencomo, because if not, I'll go ahead and ask Jacqueline a few other questions.
Oh, okay. I don't have anything specific, but I definitely want to have the information on the digital academy, because that is such a great opportunity for the students to learn more and in a safe way test it out.
Yeah, yeah, it is like test driving a car. I hate the example, but it's so true. It's a 5-day commitment, and you're going to understand how the university teaches its students, what they're teaching, but then you also are doing it with other potential students. So you get to see, okay, well, hey, you know, like I'm doing this program and I just met Jacqueline and she's actually kind of cool. And wait, she's from the Bay and, you know, we're both juniors and maybe we want to apply to EHL. At least I know that I know somebody ahead of time. So one, it's not such a foreign idea. But then two, I'm a hands-on learner. I'm a terrible test taker. And I realized that through these workshops, that's what I would be doing on campus. I would be learning in class via lectures, but I'm also applying what I'm learning. And I feel more confident in myself because I don't have to memorize everything and then, you know, do a multiple choice exam where I'm terrible at taking tests. And that's going to determine my future. So
Something else that I noticed, and I don't think that you touched upon it, but Jacqueline is quite poised for age and very professional looking for being 19, maybe 20. So I think that that is something unique. And so even if you decide that you don't go into hospitality or any traditional business, there's life skills that you're learning about global etiquette.
Yeah, no, I'll add something. I'm gonna go, or you want to say something, Jacqueline?
Just a little bit, but yes, I definitely have been able to learn so much more about etiquette, global etiquette, the term that you use. I've never heard it be phrased in that way, but it's a great way of explaining it. And it's definitely something like I love to travel. So it was always something I wanted to learn more about and I was curious about, but it wasn't until I really came here that things started to click even more. And yeah, it's just been a great opportunity overall.
One thing I didn't mention, because it's EHL specific, is that this is our dress code. We actually wear suits every single day. And, you know, you as an adult realize that, hey, you know, Jacqueline isn't close to even my age, but look at how she presents herself. And it's true. They are life skills. I even had I had a student say that EHL is kind of a university of life. And I was like, okay, this is getting really deep, but tell me what you mean. And he's like, well, think about it. You know, what do you do every day? You get up, you probably make your bed, you have to put on clothes, so you're probably going to iron them, especially if they're wrinkled. But then also you need to cook. You need to eat, right? So why don't you learn how to cook? And then also you're going to be around people, so you should know how to be able to address people from different backgrounds because it's just basic, you know, basic life skills. Like Jacqueline and I are good because we're both from the same area, so we can talk for days. Actually, all three of us are from the same area. But if, you know, if I'm with somebody from Colombia, there's certain things that I know about the Colombian culture that I can relate to them. But because I've been there, if I would have never been to Colombia, I would have no context. So you're just learning super simple skills, but these are what's going to help you work, definitely in hospitality, but work in any career where you're working with people.
That's actually something that I share with my children, but also with my students, which is if you can conduct yourself and have confidence, and sometimes you gain that confidence by understanding social norms and expectations. But then you become what's the most important part of an interview and not your resume.
Yep.
So I love that. And I love seeing the students.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm super fortunate that I get to work with, you know, definitely specifically Jacqueline, and she is pretty awesome. It's nice to be able to see her progression, but also there's a lot of students like these out there. I'm actually going to pose a question to you, Jacqueline. How do you think it would have been if you didn't know about EHL and you studied at another school that you were looking to apply to? And I could already think of one school.
There are so many things. There's not just one thing that would change. It's my entire, everything that I've learned in the past, year and a half of being here, living in Switzerland. I've learned so much more about not only other people, but about myself. And it's just, I don't even know where to begin. I wouldn't have been able to serve those hundreds of bottles of wine to a guest, or to make this unique dish in a Michelin star awarded restaurant. It's an opportunity that I would never have been able to have and not known about. And that just came from, I guess, research. Hope that kind of answers the question.
Well, yeah, and also, what advice do you think you would give to somebody that's going to be watching this who had never thought of doing a degree abroad? Like, what advice would you give them to like consider when looking for colleges?
Research. Do your research. It is the most important. I think it's the most important thing when looking for college schools. And that's really how I got to learn about EHL. And if it wasn't for that, I don't know where I would be right now. And I couldn't imagine going to another school or learning another whole set of curriculum. It was the best decision just to Google what the school was, what they were about, and then also get in touch. Once I got in touch with Daniel, I was set. This is the school that I was meant to go to. And it became very clear after I did that.
Awesome, thank you. And any last minute questions that you might have, Ms. Bencomo?
No, I have no questions. It just makes me happy to see thriving young adults that find that fit.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Even as an admissions person, the reason why I love what I do is because I can work with the Jacquelines of the world. And even if they don't go to EHL, I'm not offended. You know, because that's not my role. My role, yeah, I'm here to promote EHL and let you know that it exists. But I mean, there's some people that are just not a good fit for us, and that's completely fine. And I'll tell them, hey, maybe you should consider this, and here's some recommendations. And cool, you know, maybe down the road they'll send an email saying, thanks for connecting me, and I'm going here. Perfect. You're continuing your education. As long as you're doing something with your life and also like working to make yourself better, that's all I can ask for. Mm-hmm. So we should be here to help you out, whether it's for a school or not. I don't care. I want you to be happy where you go, period.
It's true. I mean, we gain nothing by directing students in the wrong path.
Yep, exactly. Well, with that, you know, thank you so much, both of you, for attending today. Jacqueline, for talking about your student experience. So that way people understand what would happen if they decide that they want to do a degree abroad. But then also for you, Ms. Bencomo, for allowing us to kind of present about these opportunities. And who knows, maybe there are going to be some students down the road that might consider it. And it's going to be a cool opportunity, that's for sure. It's not for everybody, but it is a pretty cool opportunity.
Well, I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you both. And I hope you both have a great rest of your night, okay?
Thank you. You too.
Thank you
All right.
as well. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.